All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is episode 4 of Conversations with Creatives, and we are joined by Matthew. How do I say your last name just so I make sure I don't mess up with it?
Machanda.
Machanda? Okay, I would have 100% messed up on that. So
Totally.
thank you. Matthew Machanda, you are a Toronto-based
Yeah.
photographer, am I right? So I've actually never been to that side of Canada. I actually,
Yeah.
fun fact, used to live in Alberta, but yeah, I used to live in Lethbridge, Alberta, tiny little town, like
Okay.
100 miles north of
Nice.
the border, which is an exact carbon copy of the town in Idaho that I live in now too. So it's like nothing different. But yeah, so I haven't been to that side of Canada yet. Definitely want to check it out. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's our first time trying a remote podcast. So sorry if there's any issues or anything. We're working out. We're running. Let me put up a video on screen of what this setup looks like right now. We're running crazy right now. I kind of want to get into the basics right off the bat of just how you started photography. Like what I feel like everyone has kind of the catalyst that got them into it initially. What's kind of
hmm
how you got your start? Because uh, I think your work is absolutely amazing, and I would say criminally underrated. And I feel like you should
Thank you.
deserve so much more following for what you have, and it's annoying. So
Oh
please
man.
go follow him right now. And yeah, let me hear the story on how you got started in
Yeah.
photography.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I would say that we kind of pick up a camera for a wide number of reasons, whether it's related to family, maybe a family member, put a camera in your hands, or someone in your life encouraged you. And I think now we see it happening uh, it's happening a lot online, right? You watch a YouTube video or something, and it kind of gets the camera in your hand or in your, online cart.
Mhm.
And what happened for me is actually, I did that not in like the most classic ways, but it was actually to impress my girlfriend's brother.
Okay.
And I always try to tell that story, and everyone's like, "Hold on, wait, 1 second." And it was actually that, growing up, this was back in high school. Everyone at those parties, they had cameras just lying around, and they were like Canon 5Ds and like some like
So
big,
like good big ones,
chunky
yeah,
DSLRs. But
yeah.
they were all just like, riding their bikes. It was like fixie bikes, and then just having like house parties. And I went, and I was like, "Why are all these really nice cameras hanging out?" And so I started picking one up, taking a few shots, and I was like, this is amazing. And it really turned out well for the Facebook photo dumps, right?
Right.
Remember Facebook albums?
Oh
So
yeah.
because of that, I was like, I need to get my hands on this. And so I actually had her brother's friend come with me to pick up a Kijiji used camera. And it's funny
Okay.
enough, it's actually from a building. It's kind of like a studio, but it's got a few other uh, offices inside.
Mhm.
And it was like a photo studio. And I picked up my first camera, and it was a Canon 5D Mark One,
Mark one. Okay.
Mark
Yep.
One. And it was so funny how it kind of translated from just trying to impress and be like, yeah, I'll grab a camera to hang out with the cool kids.
Hmm.
And then when that relationship ended, I was like, I'm gonna just keep photographing.
Hmm.
And because of that, and obviously Flickr, I'm dating myself, but even Flickr, I was so inspired by some of the portraits that I was seeing that I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to grab the camera, but then I'm going to jump right into portraiture.
Okay.
And, you know, my first lens was like an 85, 1.8. I still
Awesome.
have it to this
Such a
day.
good lens.
Oh, it's fantastic. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm going to go out and photograph strangers. So I actually would go out on like cold winter days and just
Mhm.
photograph strangers.
Street photography is
And
so hard too. Like,
man,
and it's
street phot-
intimidating too. I bet
it
too. Like right out the
it
gate, just yeah.
absolutely. It's tricky because like one thing is if you're going to do street photography, usually it's, people just kind of like minding their own business, and you're
Hmm.
just going to capture a moment. But I actually walked up to people and I was like, "Excuse me.
Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
You have an interesting coat on, or like you have a
Hmm.
interesting smile, like you looked at something and you left. Could you
So
tell
you
me
started kind of like
why?
that
Can
TikTok
I?"
trend that people do now when they walk up to strangers, like, "Can I
Yes,
take your portrait?" You were the OG of
exactly.
that. Okay.
What can I say? No, it was just something that I had seen. And you don't want to just try to hire subjects to go to a studio and pay money to try out portraiture. So I
Mhm.
was like, I'm just going to reach out to people and connect with them. And so I got some great photos. And again, it actually made me learn more about the world in that regard. There was like a soldier that was like at a skate park, and he's like in like a bunch of camo gear, and he's like doing something, like I think he was like kind of fixing the skate park. There was like a snow barrier or something. And I went up and I was like, what are you doing? And like, why?
Mhm.
And can I take your photo? and I have a great photo of, from that moment. And
It's cool.
it was really interesting. So I think that's just kind of like how I started. That was what got it in my hands. And then, of course, I went down the route that everyone does, wedding photography and yada yada.
Hmm. I haven't dived into that yet. I'm too scared to because
Would
I
you
don't
do
want to ruin
photos?
people's like I don't want to ruin that moment just in case if I miss focus or something. It's too nerve wracking for me. Cars
Totally.
just park there and
Yeah.
they don't move.
Yeah. Static.
Yep,
Static.
no
Do
move
you do
there.
photos only or video as well?
I'm video too. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a hybrid. So
Yeah.
actually, for my day job, I'm a hybrid photo video guy for the company I work with.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
So
So, yeah, I mean, like, don't be afraid. You can definitely do it. But just to make sure that you don't miss focus, I don't know, just like don't go too shallow
mhm.
and just do video.
Yeah,
So you can
yeah.
capture the essence. Even if it's blurry, it's the essence of it all.
The one time someone hired me to shoot their engagements, of
Mm,
him getting engaged without like surprising her, I accidentally cut off like the lower part of his legs and his knee when he's on it. I was like, oh, because I was shooting it on like an
happens.
85, but hidden in the bushes, and I didn't know exactly where he was gonna be. And
Yeah.
then they've just never posted that photo
Oh,
of their engagements because like it's fine,
man.
it's all right.
Yeah. It's tricky. I mean, the one thing about engagement photos that are planned is when
Mm-hmm.
you're out in the woods, which I think a lot of people love to do, because you either get
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful sunset or it's just fog. And depending on what camera you're using, your autofocus doesn't know where the contrast is,
Yep.
and you are just, praying.
Yeah. But also kudos to you for getting into that while also not having mirrorless cameras that have just insane autofocus and
Yeah,
that can
yeah,
just catch anything. And but like doing that on, did you start like the wedding photography with the 5D Mark One
yeah.
and that
5D
ran that
Mark
from?
One, and
Okay.
then jumped to actually the 6D.
Okay.
You
That
could
was my
say that's a
first full
jump. You
frame.
could say it's a whatever, but I'd say it's a jump.
Yeah. That was my first full frame actually.
Nice.
And one of
Yeah.
the photos we're going to talk about on mine is actually taken with the 6D when I first got it.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, mine's a mixture of, I think, just the cameras that I actually have on hand next to me. So I'll
Mhm.
talk about that. But
So-
um,
okay.
yeah,
But did you impress the boyfriend? Or your girlfriend? Did you impress your
yeah,
girlfriend
the
with it?
brother,
Yeah,
the
you
brother.
impressed the brother. Yeah,
Um, yes,
yeah.
maybe, maybe. He would force me to do Jaeger shots, and I think because I kept doing those, he was like, "Nice." And then I have the camera, and he's like, "Okay, nicer,
Yeah,
very
this guy can
nice."
keep up.
Yeah,
He's cool. He's cool.
exactly. Yeah.
Talking about what we're shooting on, let's get into the gear that you shoot on. Do you just have like a hodgepodge of a ton of different cameras? Because I've seen like Leicas on your feed, and then obviously you said like you
Yeah.
shoot a Canon if you're still using that lens. And
Yeah.
yeah, what do you
Absolutely.
use to
So I find that my workhorse right now, and call me crazy, but I feel like my workhorse is still the Canon 5D Mark IV. And
They're awesome. So
they're
good.
awesome. They're
Yeah.
fantastic. And again, I will always use something that at least gives the character that I'm after.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is a $400 lens,
Hmm.
right? And a 50 1.4 and an 85 1.8 are like the main two lenses I use, apart from like a 70 to 200.
Right.
And it's because it gets the job done. There's a certain color and characteristic I do find.
Hmm.
And those are the ones that don't necessarily leave the office that often, but they're there, they're back there.
Sure.
And I still love them, even though they're on Facebook Marketplace and I just don't respond to the people asking.
Sure. Sure. Right.
And so now I find myself based on form factor and kind of just like what I can carry, whether
Hmm.
it's travel or whether it's just trying to go for a walk
Yeah.
and still get some good photos. I have these two, I'd say brother and sister. So it's the Fuji X100V.
Okay.
To me, no
Awesome.
need to go for the six. I'm really happy with the V or five.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, it's probably
and
not like the
then
$1,000 upgrade, to be honest. Yeah.
no, for at least for what I need, right?
Yeah.
And then I jumped to the M11P by
Okay.
Leica. And that was like a big commitment
Hmm.
on my part because it was something that I always knew I wanted.
Yeah. Are
And it
those full
was,
manual too? For the
yeah,
M series? Yeah.
yeah. So this is the M series, fully manual, rangefinder. And then I've got a 35 mil on there.
Okay.
And, again, you're manually focusing, but I find the throw on the actual lens not that bad. So I know that I'm at a certain kind of focal distance from here
Right.
and not focal distance, but just kind of actual depth. And
Hmm.
so if I do want to get closer to someone, I can just quickly go like that.
Right. It's
I'm
kind of
at
like
point
my
0.7 meters
Canonet
away.
that I have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, like obviously based off of the readings up here, if I want to shoot at like f8, I'm giving myself more of like a hit or miss. And
Hmm.
so now I really know where I am and I can kind of dial it in a little bit more, but I am not someone that needs to kind of like zone focus like this. I don't mind actually like looking through, making sure everything lines up and
Hmm.
getting the shot, hopefully getting the shot.
Yeah.
And really, these two cameras have been like with me on my honeymoon, or if I'm actually shooting
Hmm.
something where I'm getting paid, they're coming with me. And
Right.
it's not that I'm against any other, main cameras that are out there. It's just that this works for me, and
Hmm.
these also put constraints on me that I actually admire. If
Hmm.
a camera can do everything, I find it underwhelming. And so if a camera can't, every time I post a photo or I print a photo and it's sharp, it's because I actually focused. Like I
Right.
was the
Right.
one that got it and caught that moment. And so yeah, that's kind of like the gear right now. At
Okay.
least like personal gear that I use.
Mhm. Is that a
Yeah.
Canonet film camera on over your shoulder there, up on the shelf?
This guy?
Yeah.
So I was actually in Belgium and I got this. It's kind of like a fake Leica. It's a
Okay.
tin can. So it's just a tin can.
Oh, it's ten.
It
Okay.
it says
Yeah.
Elite on it,
Okay.
and that's it.
Yeah, I thought it was a match of my Canonet because they look really similar. So I
Yeah.
thought that's what you were rocking there. I just
Yeah,
picked this up.
yeah,
I haven't done any shoots with this yet, so I need
yeah.
to
Nice.
try
Oh,
it out.
definitely get a roll in there.
It has well, so I have a Nikon FG. That was my main film camera that I was using,
Hmm.
and then I flew out to California to do some shoots, and
Yeah.
the battery was dead right when I pulled it out. So I was like,
Oof.
oh. So I took one photo with that roll. So I pulled the roll out of that and put it to the Canon, and I'm just gonna
Nice.
shelf the FG now. I have 3 film cameras up there that have all stopped
Fair
working
enough.
throughout the
Yeah.
just me trying to get into it. I've maybe only shot like 5 or 6 rolls so far, but I'm trying
Hmm.
to.
I've got a few film cameras, but again, like some of the batteries just aren't working. So it's like there's one small element where it needs battery to like
Mhm,
function. So yeah, a lot of film doesn't get used
mhm.
because of that fact.
Yeah,
And I just
that's why you
haven't
get the
bought
cameras that
myself.
kind of give you that look anyway.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and I
Yeah.
do kind of. What's your opinion on like the Q series cameras? What made you go with the M instead of the Q with Leica?
Because you have to put in the work. Honestly, like I already have the Fuji, which feels a little bit more like a point and shoot. And
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to spend that much money on a Q series to feel like I'm one, limited to a 28, because obviously the 43
Right.
wasn't out yet. But limited to a 28, again, 1.7 is fantastic, but it just didn't suit what I was after. I wanted to spend the money to, again, feel like there were some constraints so I could at least create some kind of creativity.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the Fuji and I had money, then maybe I'd grab a Q.
Yeah,
I
the
love the
Q2s are still like
QP,
five
the
grand.
Q2.
Ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be against getting like an original Q or anything
They're
like
great
that. Like
also.
I'm not against it. I love the form
Hmm.
factor. I love everything about it. Just doesn't fit in.
My friend Tanner
Yeah.
Seymour, he had a M11, and he was on a road trip
Yeah.
through Oregon with his wife, and he left it on his roof of his car and drove
Mm.
away. And
Oh,
yeah, and then so that camera's gone, and he was texting us all. He's
dang.
like, "Do any of you have an M11 for sale?"
Oh
Like,
man.
so somebody
So
probably got lucky finding an M11 on the side of the road, and for how
right.
tough they're built, it probably works just fine.
Oh,
So,
that's brutal. So I know like this one doesn't. I ended up putting a half case on this guy, and I can just like, go back in and get the battery as well as the memory card, but I know some brands let you have an AirTag in there. And
okay,
so like being able to have an AirTag like on your camera would be
yeah,
very, very nice for
hmm,
situations like that if it
yeah.
survives.
So those M11s are not cheap,
Oh,
but
no,
they're fun things. But
they're
yeah, I
very
can finally
fun.
show off my camera. I've never been able to show it
Yes,
off because
please.
I've recorded all of these with my camera, so I've never
Right,
been able
right.
to show it. Yeah. So this is my main daily, the
Ooh, decked
Sony
out too.
A7 IV, like I said, 24, 28 to 75 actually.
Yeah.
So this is the one that is boring and can get everything that you need. And one thing that people don't know though is most of my photos on my page um, are 35-1.8, like the
Yeah.
cheapest RF Canon
Yeah.
35-1.8 that you can get. And I shot that for 2 years straight, only 35.
Nice.
All my rollers, all my Ys close, like every single thing, 35. All my
That's
videos,
fantastic.
and it's the bet I recommend that lens to everybody because it's macro too. You can get super close, but yeah, so very minimal chromatic aberration. It's $300
Hmm.
US.
It's
It's like
fantastic.
super cheap. And
Yeah.
so it's great lens. I always tell people when they're looking for like $1,000 budget, Canon
Hmm.
RP, that lens,
Yeah.
just that. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still have such a soft spot for Canon. It's just that I've never jumped back in now that
Hmm.
they're mirrorless. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's great. I love the Sony gear, honestly. I really do. And
Hmm.
now that I'm kind of toying around with doing more video, not because I like am needing to, but more just out of curiosity,
Hmm.
I've been thinking about Sony a little bit.
Yeah. That's why I
Just
switched to that.
just playing
To be
around,
honest.
yeah, playing around with the
Yeah.
thought process, really. But
Hmm.
um,
Well, does Chris shoot Sony?
yeah.
Is he trying to push you that way, or is he a Canon guy?
Oh, I mean, we've been using
Everybody.
a lot of Lumix
Oh yeah,
um,
he did. He
for a
did start
while.
switch to Lumix
But
for a while.
again,
Yeah.
yeah, like there's no, exclusivity. It's
Yeah.
this idea of like loving these Lumix
Hmm.
cameras.
Yeah.
They're really nice and they're kind of
Hmm.
getting the job done. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the main workhorses right now.
My new fun experimental camera.
Oh, right, you're showing me
My like
that.
little
Yeah,
rolly thing that has like a top-down view digital finder
I
and
love
stuff. So
that.
it's been fun to record video. You have to spin this little guy, record
Nice.
stuff, and the footage is as bad as you would hope it would expect it to be.
Do you
But
have to keep it
and
like
you have to
consistent?
keep spinning. You have to keep. It has like a 3 second timer before it stops when you stop
Yeah.
spinning it. But
Hmm.
yeah, so you could like spin it a little bit and keep the timer going, but every
Man.
minute it's just going to be shaking and yeah.
Yeah, that's so tricky. Are there any other cameras that you are currently using, or maybe a camera
Uh,
that you're dreaming about, a lens?
um, I really want a Sigma 105, 118 or 14,
Yeah,
like that
Sigma's
crazy zoom
fantastic.
prime. Because I was
Yeah,
just shooting. Do you know North Borders?
yeah,
Like, yeah, I was just shooting with him a couple months back on the salt
cool.
flats, and
Hmm.
that's the one that he uses, and I've watched him for years on
Hmm.
YouTube and always see him use it. So that's kind of the I really want that prime, and I might pick up another 35 mil just because I'm kind of sick of
Hmm.
shooting on a zoom lens again. I kind of miss
Fair.
the prime look a bit.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, like I kind of grew up on primes,
Hmm.
and there's just something about it.
Hmm.
Like again, like it's something that limits you. There's a sense of rigidity, so you have to be the one to kind of move,
Yeah.
and I love that. I
Hmm.
honestly love that. It not that, it's cheating to be able to kind of quickly go
Hmm.
in for a little bit extra compression, but it's fun when you have to be like, oh, ooh, and then you have to like book it and like
Right.
try to get to something.
Yeah, I think. I still find myself since I shot prime forever. I still like am moving up and like forward and back even with this, and then I'm like, oh
Totally.
wait, I can just do that, and
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm good.
What a concept.
Yeah, right. But I
Yeah.
would say I have taken a ton of photos where I wish the 35 was more compressed with the background because I was just shooting
Hmm.
because I really just try to focus on landscapes a ton with my car
Right.
photos.
Yeah.
My philosophy, I've said it before, is that I think car photos are landscape photography with a car in it
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
think the background's 99% of the photo and the car's 1%.
Yeah.
Um,
Or a horse photo with a car in it,
yep.
right?
It's the environment you put it in. It's not but also that's what like that Ferrari shoot with the horse.
Hmm.
It's the what makes that a cool photo is that it's on a farm and the thing. It's not the car itself.
Yeah.
Because I could have put
Yeah.
like kind of like a Ford Bronco or something in there, and it would have been still like the same
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You're telling a story for sure,
yeah,
right?
which I
Like
got
that's why props,
crucified on
set, and
Reddit.
design.
I got
Really?
crucified on Reddit for that photo. It's
Really?
funny, yeah. I put it on actually the Sony subreddit and the Ferrari
Hmm.
one, and so many people were like, "No farmer can afford a Ferrari. This is classist," and like showing. I was like, guys, it was just an idea. It was just a
Oh
photo. I'm
man.
not here to make a
Yeah.
political statement or a social
Right.
commentary about anything.
Yeah. But
It's
isn't it
just, and they're like, this
fascinating?
makes no sense. And I was like, it's a horse for the horse. Like, how does this not tie together,
Yeah.
guys? Come on.
Mm. Wow.
So people can hate it,
Yeah.
but hey, I love negative interactions on my posts because it gets more engagement.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. There are certain genres of photography that are less controversial than others.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of fun to be in your world and be like, yeah, let's be a little bit edgy,
Hmm.
without even meaning to.
No, yeah, I found my best photos performance wise, even though the numbers don't matter,
Hmm.
is ones that it's a car in a place that it shouldn't be. Like
Right.
the my biggest photo ever was an RWB Porsche off-roading
Mm.
because the owner just like, and I didn't even, the crazy part, I didn't even ask the owner to do it. We just went to the
Yeah.
Sturt lot and he just started just ripping it. I didn't even ask him to. I just started shooting when he
Yeah.
just went for it. And and that's something you just never see. Like it's
Yeah,
a full built race car Porsche that he just decided just to rip around on a dirt track and off road it.
that's
I'm like,
amazing.
hell yeah. Well, one more thing for gear. No, we talked about
Yeah,
it. We gotta talk. We're watch guys here, so I gotta
yes,
know
yes,
what
yes.
watch you're wearing, rocking today.
Well, so you texted me earlier, and that made me go like, "Oh, what should I wear?" And then I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm just gonna wear what I'm wearing currently."
Hmm.
And so this was actually my 30th birthday gift to myself.
Okay.
It
Love it.
is a Rolex Oyster Date.
Awesome.
And so this one was from, I think it's dated roughly around the 60s.
Okay, I was about to
This
ask if it was
specific
vintage.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And so this one is the
Nice.
oh man, the 6694.
Hmm.
And
Is it a
so
silver dial
silver
or a white
dial.
dial? Silver dial.
It's a
Nice.
silver dial that's gone a little bit cream.
I,
Hard
I
to kind
I
of
like the
see, but
champagne dials. I like
yeah,
those.
yeah. The date's like fun, legible. It's not like crusty. It's not like
Hmm.
that kind of vintage. And then this isn't like a real bracelet. I bought this one um, with like a leather strap. And so
Okay.
later on, I just got like a random, like bracelet that matched. And I'm on the
Hmm.
hunt for one that's kind of period accurate, but those get
Yeah.
super slinky and they're not
Right.
really, held together well. So I was like, you
Hmm.
know what? I love this. It's 34 mil, so it's small, but
Okay.
like it kind of fits my
Yeah.
wrist in that regard.
Hmm.
And then
I
manual
also
wind.
feel like a smaller form watch factor, just from like the clothing style that I've seen like you post that you like on like your
Mm,
Instagram story and stuff. It kind of fits
yeah,
that. Like large form
yeah.
factor watches don't fit kind of. I feel like the form style, like the
No,
fit style that you like.
I think because of sleeves, right? You want to feel like you
Yeah.
can kind of have something, smooth under the
Hmm.
radar. And then
Right.
this one works perfectly when you're wearing a suit and you want to put on a leather strap. Because at
Hmm.
that point, it just kind of blends in really well. And so, yeah, this is what I'm wearing today.
Okay.
And I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a
All
leather
right.
strap guy. My Submariner, the Starbucks is the only one that I have that has a metal
Yeah.
band to
Which
it.
it should. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people like it on NATO, which I would say
Mhm.
maybe do a NATO. I wonder what you would do with green. But yes, a
Yeah.
NATO is
Yeah.
fun. Leather, get out of here.
No, yeah,
Not
I
allowed.
was trying to find something like looking up any idea with the Starbucks one at least, because like I do
Yeah,
like the black strap with the black Submariner, but with the green
right.
dial and stuff,
Yeah,
it just doesn't work out.
yeah,
So, but instead, actually, funny enough, big green watch with a strap. I decided this is the watch I've owned the longest actually, but not sure if you've ever heard of this brand, but it's called Spinnaker um
right on. Yeah.
full chronograph. I really like these ones because it's like super accessible. These are only like
Hmm.
you can buy them used for like 120 bucks, 130 bucks.
Brilliant. Yeah,
Um, this is probably one of like, which is weird saying like I have a Rolex. Like this is one of the highest quality feeling watches that I have for some
wow.
reason. Like it's just super nice, and this band has
Hmm.
lasted perfectly with a ton of wear.
Yeah,
Um, but what I really like about this movement too, it's a called a mechanical quartz movement. So
yep,
the main watch is run by the quartz, but then all the chronograph functions are run mechanically.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
a combo kind of thing, so you can have like a little bit of both
yeah.
with it.
No,
And
that's fantastic.
I love this watch. It's like I said, super accessible, but it's also the only watch I've ever owned that gets compliments. For some reason, like none of
Interesting.
the other one, the only watch that gets compliments is this one.
Yeah,
And I don't know
it's
what
the
it
one
is.
that
Like
you never
every time I
expect.
go out there, yeah, people are like, "Wow, that's such a cool watch." I'm like, "All right." And then yeah,
Hmm.
I have never had one compliment or one comment at least, even with the Submariner. But
I've got a watch from Diesel. I have a
mhm,
Diesel watch, and that gets compliments.
nice,
Like apart from anything else, I think the
yeah,
Diesel one gets the most compliments. But I actually thought that that was a Panerai when I quickly saw it
yeah.
kind
No,
of
it
in a
very
moment.
much looks like a Panerai homage a little bit,
Yeah,
but which I bet Spinnaker took some very strong inspiration
it
from it.
happens.
But I do
It
like it has
happens.
like the chronograph like bezel around, and I've loved this thing, and it doesn't have like a crown that sticks out much like the Submariner does, so it doesn't really
Right.
hurt the
Yeah.
wrist much, even if I'm wearing it way too low right now. But um,
It's all
yeah, but
good.
my next one that's coming in soon, hopefully, is the Explorer. Got a 39 mil Explorer Rolex.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Is it Explorer 139 or
yeah.
the two?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Or 139.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
found a good deal on one. The shipping on it's being weird. Well,
Ah,
it's like USPS is all messed up. They shipped it to the
mm,
town right next to me, and then they shipped it back to Utah, and then they shipped it back to the town next to me, and so now it's there right now.
that's kind
I
of
was hoping it was
stressful.
going to come in yesterday, then I could have had it for today, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. It's fine.
It's okay. Next time, just send me a text.
Yeah, the beautiful state of Idaho and the black hole we are with just shipping anything here. But I don't know,
Brutal.
probably getting anything from the U.S. to Canada is probably a pain too sometimes.
Ugh, yeah. Without getting
But
political, it might get harder. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah, you might have to be paying
But
25% more, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, no, that's awesome. Let's get into this first photo, which
beauty.
obviously I'll throw up on the screen for everyone at
Yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah. So this is what's your problem, Billy? And sometimes I think people just name photos or at least file names, whatever they want. And that's
Sure.
what happened in this case.
Okay.
What's your problem, Billy? Literally was just like, I'm going to type it in because I have to get going. So that has nothing to do with the photo, but I took this photo actually on the Fuji X100V.
Okay.
And I knew that I wanted to add fake frame lines. Call me crazy, but
I do
I
like that.
really wanted
It's a
to
nice touch.
because thanks. It felt like I needed it framed and I needed the stark contrast of the black frame to actually pair with the basketball net like frame, like
Mm-hmm.
that arc. And so this one actually is called Footprints. And the reason why I loved this photo after the fact was I was just thinking about the idea of the footprints left on the backboard. A
Mm-hmm.
basketball is always kind of going up and down, and only for a very brief moment in life is it actually going sideways like this, or, angled, and leaving its mark sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit of a footprint uh, at the end of its, quote unquote life. And it was interesting. I took this photo just going for a walk. My wife met me for lunch. I was working at a wine bar at the time, and I was just like, you know what? Let's go before I have to head back to work. We took some photos, and yeah, I was just like, okay, let's try to find something here. And it didn't take long, but I feel like once I started putting this into black and white and not going crazy on grain, I was like, okay, like stark contrast, sharp, smooth. This image makes more sense to me now and kind of has a story.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
made
no,
me
that
feel for basketballs.
yeah, no, but um this photo is one that I feel like you would see like in our gallery there, and that makes you stop and sit there and think like, huh, like yeah,
Yeah,
what is this trying to tell us? But I do like I think the black bars did add a lot to it. Because did you do top bars too? Like it looks like you did it all around, right?
yeah, all
Yeah,
around.
and because it looks like it was like a scan from like a film thing.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I do think the photo would have looked pretty flat if it didn't have that contrast around the edge, and
yeah.
complement
I
with it,
mean,
which is like, we talked about like flat's not a bad thing, but I feel like the hoop almost would get lost without it being framed up.
totally. Yeah. Because again, there's a little bit more of like this additional gray.
Mm-hmm.
So the background doesn't feel like it's white. There's a grayness to it. And then you start to see this fade into the actual backboard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that was just one that really spoke to me. And I was like, what
Mm-hmm.
do I bring in? And I was like, okay, I'm going to bring this in. Because to me, it was me allowing, and I'll bring this up again in the last photo, it was me allowing a edit choice to pair with the photography
Mm-hmm.
aspect of my creativity and saying, how can we blend something on Photoshop with the actual image to kind of make it stronger?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tweak anything. I'm not trying to lie to anyone, but I am trying to create some type of, yeah, it's a border, but I wanted to make
Mm-hmm.
the border feel like it was also film, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
100%.
So yeah.
And yeah, I'm a proponent of cropping things in an interesting way, or like just doing something with your framing just to make it stand out. Like I mentioned this in
Mhm.
episode 2 was I've been trying really hard to crop weird because I feel like that, like just the different sort of framing that catches people's attention. Like they're just scrolling through just normal photos and then they see one with a different shaped border and stuff
Mm.
that might just catch their attention. Be like, oh, then they'll start
Yeah.
getting lead into the thing. Like, oh, like it just plays their mind. Because the one that comes to mind was my friend Connor framed his like Porsche photo. He took a picture of the big wing on a GT3 RS, but put it sideways, but on the left side of the frame, and just left it all
Mm.
just blank. And it was just one of the coolest photos I saw because that like all of his photos look sweet, but then that one made me stop. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
like okay, all right, that's a choice.
Totally.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
that's what
love
made me
that.
share it. And that photo's been going like viral all around because I'm like, get weird with it, have fun, but do
Yeah.
something unique because you don't see people cropping it or framing their photos like this in a unique way. So I had to kick off the photos with a Canada based one
Oh yeah.
because I think you
Thank
can
you.
tell where this is at. So this was in Banff, And this was the first time I had a client that actually flew me out to take photos internationally too.
Nice.
So this guy, he bought a blue RWB Porsche and drove it from Saskatchewan down to Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming.
Hmm.
And he found me on Instagram and woke me up at like that pretty much midnight. He's like, "Hey, can you be here at sunrise and take some photos for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right." So I was like, "Why not?" And so drove like 3 hours there to be there by like 5 a.m.
Hmm.
and took his photo. He loved him, and then when he loved that car so much that he bought a second one, and then drove that from
Nice.
Saskatchewan to
Sweet.
Banff. And then he was like, "Hey, can I fly you out to come photograph it while they're in Banff?" I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So if anything, this should be a lesson of just saying yes to opportunities because you never know where it's going to
Totally.
lead you. Because this guy's flown me out to Boston to shoot his whole collection. Like this guy's just taking me around, and he's been an awesome client.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but we got super lucky with this photo. So it was a bad thing that turned into a good thing.
Okay.
Because this was during the Jasper fires. So like the north end of the park was closed. Cause like the road
Hmm.
to Jasper National Park was closed. But then we were staying at a lodge near the iceberg, ice like the yeah, have you've been to Banff before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like the big iceberg kind of near the Jasper entrance, whatever.
Hmm.
We had a hotel close to there, and we tried to wake up super early to go to Moraine Lake to take photos.
Yeah.
And a massive mudslide happened and blocked the road for the whole day.
Oh wow.
So we couldn't go to Moraine Lake and we couldn't go up north of Jasper. So we literally were like stuck in this just section of the park.
Hmm.
But because of that, there was no traffic north, there was no traffic south.
I
There
was
was
just gonna
literally nobody.
say.
There was just the people at the hotel. That was it. And so
Wow.
we literally had open roads the whole day to just take photos with no issue.
That's
And obviously there
amazing.
was like the one person that would like come by and then they were pissed off that we were in the middle of the road. We're like, literally,
Hmm.
there's nobody here. Just go around, please. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people like swearing at us. We're like, it's just there's nothing here. But yeah, but this photo is just right past the hotel, the Iceberg Hotel, where you can take like the ice cats up on top of the iceberg and
Amazing. Yeah.
or the glacier. I keep calling iceberg glacier. Um and yeah, so I was able to take this photo, just park in the middle of the road and not have to worry about any traffic. And again, this one's like special because this was one of like my biggest photos I took, but also just the coolest opportunity to finally like have my work be able to travel internationally to take
Totally.
photos, even
Yeah.
though it's like internationally is like 4 hours from where I'm at. But still, it's a different country. It counts.
No, no, no. It counts
I
for
still had to
sure.
get a stamp in my passport for it.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and let me tell you, coming back though, I don't know what they thought I was doing, but I got randomly selected at every single airport. Stopped. I got stopped 4 times in 3 airports. Like the Calgary airport,
Whoa.
I got randomly picked before you go through like the doors to like go in to get your X-ray. I got picked there to
Hmm.
get all my stuff swabbed and checked, and then I walked through the door, and then they picked me again to. I was like
Oh
20
my
feet,
goodness.
20 feet back. I just got swabbed and everything. Really, guys? And then I got full pat downs the rest of the way, all the way back. I was like, I don't know what you guys think I'm bringing back from
So
Banff, but
fascinating. Yeah.
yeah, it was
I
fun. But yeah,
wonder
so
why.
so this was just such a unique experience being able to have pretty much the park to ourselves
Hmm.
and no traffic. No, I feel like this is a photo that I don't think much people would be able to get, especially during like good weather season there.
No, for sure. And so I have a few questions. I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about that idea of like, okay, I'll never do weddings or nervous to do weddings. I need to make sure that I get the shot. So obviously you had time to prep for this because there was no traffic.
Mhm.
So did you set up a tripod? Did you go
Nope.
handheld?
All
You know, what
handheld.
were you shooting at? Did it
Yeah.
feel good to kind of just have the car locked off in that one section, or did you feel like you were really experimenting and not sure what the final result was going to be?
Um. So all handheld. I've actually never done my car photos with tripods
Yeah.
ever. Like I've done one long exposure kind of thing once, but yeah,
Hmm.
tripods. I know I like the spontaneity of just being able to walk around and get all the
Yeah.
angles and go walk into a ditch somewhere and shoot through that and do whatever, you know.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, this one. What did I shoot this one on? Um, I think this was actually my last set with my Canon R6 and my 35 mil. So this photo is 35 mil,
Cool.
prime, and let me see what setting I did shoot this at. And then yeah, shot it at ISO 100, 35, f2.8, 1/800 because it was a nice bright day.
Hmm.
And even though, but the lighting looks super even. The stuff like I guess maybe we just got like with the cloud cover right there because it was raining the whole first day we were there, which is
Mm.
what caused the mudslide that morning.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so this one was just I didn't even plan this shot either. Like we were just driving in my car ahead of him, and then I
Hmm.
saw this view, and I just pulled right over, and I was like, "Park that car right there, get
Nice.
out,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get
yeah.
over there." And then we just worked our way all down the road. So I went here with this guy named Hunter Clark. I'm not sure if you know him on Instagram, but
No,
he does amazing videography. But he flew out with me.
cool.
And we drove the route in like our Toyota Camry first, and just kind of made note of spots. So then we knew kind of when he showed up in his car, because he was a couple hours behind us, where
Hmm.
to stop. And so we had these spots picked out the day before, like
Cool.
roughly, but this one specifically we didn't. I just saw the view and I was like, stop, pull over, get the
Yeah,
shot, need it.
that's how it happens. I love it.
Yeah, it's
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 good.
probably one of my favorite shots I've ever taken. Actually got
Yeah,
it. Need to get some tape to hold it up in there. But comes with the
nice,
frame, so I
nice.
need to adjust that. And put in my
That's a
office
good
at work.
size for it too, even though like you feel like it could be even bigger. That
Mm-hmm.
size is really nice because it draws you in,
Mm-hmm.
and the road really does allow you to feel like you're kind of getting pulled into the photo, therefore feeling like the car may be in motion at that
Right.
point, even though it doesn't have, the streaks,
Mm-hmm.
in the road. It
Yeah.
it kind of just engages you.
The only thing that kills me about this photo, I don't know if I should even point it out on the thing because now everybody will see it, but the car isn't perfectly straight on the road. Like the lines, like the lines are slightly to the right of like the license
Oh
plate,
yeah.
and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
when I
yeah.
saw that, I was like, God damn, like
No,
come
no,
on.
because the thing is that because the car is like slightly like it's not like a perfect road, right?
Yeah.
So because the car is already a little bit tilted, it feels like again, it feels like I'm in momentum
Mhm.
and the car is moving. So I'm not even looking at it as like this is a photo that needs symmetry. The road, the mountains are on the left. It already feels like I'm getting ready for the car to just make a nice turn. So you've done well.
I appreciate you
Yeah, yeah.
making my gripe with the photo. Turns out I
Yeah,
appreciate
no.
that,
No, it's
but
a good one.
yeah, I'd say let's move on to your next one. The
Beauty.
one with the crosses. So is that a
I
top of a
really
church
like
upside
this.
down?
Well, I was just gonna say, I was like, can you tell me what you think this is? Um, this is a swimming pool, and
Oh,
it's an empty swimming pool during winter,
okay,
and inside it's just those lines going across and up to let you know, like that's the end.
right.
And so I mean, it's not an Olympic pool, but the idea is that it's just divided in that way. And so this was, I think, straight JPEG from this camera, the
Okay.
X100V. And I just tried to make it as stark contrast as possible.
Mhm.
I had to shoot through a fence as well
Hmm.
because I think it
Okay.
was a community center, and so I had to like wiggle my way in and really also try to hunt for symmetry because again, I went in that night. Again, I was shooting this pretty late at night, and I went in being like JPEGs only. I have no
Mhm.
raw. Got to get the shot. So I
Was that just
knew
one of
there
the
wasn't.
constraints you wanted to put on yourself? Was the JPEG only?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put on some good music, went for a
Mhm.
long walk here in Toronto, and I was just like, let's see what we get. And so being able to have something so brightly lit to give me such brightness, it still allowed there to be like a decent amount of contrast in the crosses.
Yeah.
And did I expect the crosses to turn out that way? Kind of, but not really. And I love that the ones on the actual like bottom aren't as dark. And so again, it's just a swimming pool, but for some reason it actually made me still feel like it was kind of like looking through like a military cemetery or something.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
And so
I would have never guessed that this was a swimming pool if you didn't tell me. Like
yeah,
never.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think anybody would. Like I feel like you could have that printed up, put into my Christian mother's house, and she would be stoked about it. And
yeah.
actually, so I grew up Mormon, and they actually don't do crosses, but my other Christian
Okay,
friends like, yeah,
yeah, okay, fair, yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, that
yeah.
yeah, because this looks like it would be like a statement piece of like yeah, like Catholicism or something. My dog's trying to come say hi, by the way, too. You want to say? You want to be on the video? Say hi. No.
Hi.
She's
Yeah,
just
my
waiting
dog's
because she
out
knows we're
there.
gonna go to the park after we're done here.
Ooh,
But
nice, very
yeah, so I
nice.
just came home right from work, straight to this, and she's like, "Why are we
Oh,
not going
appreciate
out
it.
there? Like, come on! Like, what's
Yeah.
up?" Um, oh yeah, yeah. This looks like I see what you're saying about the military. Like, did you selectively pick out the crosses and darken them, or is that just how dark they are?
That's how
And
dark they
that's just
are
how it is.
because I
Okay,
think there was just enough light drop off. You
right.
can kind of see it
And
in
the
like
water
the
diffuses
top
the
corners.
lines and stuff, obviously, and because this
Yeah,
looks like a
yeah, but
snowy. This looks like a snowy military cemetery. If I had to like
e-
throw a guess out there.
exactly, yeah. And I think, I think it's the soldiers in France, I think from World War I or two, where it's all like the white crosses, right? And I think that's what I kind of reflected on after, where it almost looked like it was like an inverted image of that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a field that's kind of like infrared and
Yeah.
flipped, and then all the white crosses look like they're dark.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's the one that kind of like struck me enough to kind of be like, okay, there's leading lines. I'm not one of those that needs to look for symmetry or
Sure.
whatever,
Sure.
but it felt like again, it's an image that kind of draws me in,
Mm-hmm.
and then you kind of have a central cross, and it can mean whatever you want it to mean. But
Yeah.
yeah, I found it really interesting, and again, it kind of remarks on what I like in photography, which is giving myself a little bit of a constraint, trying to find, meaning in something that can then also be interpreted different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the photo's not for me. I don't need to be praised for any of my photography, but if
Yeah.
it makes someone feel something, awesome, cool,
Yeah. And
happy.
one thing I think's important to point out about this one too is like you don't follow the conventional like rule of thirds on it either. Like the thing that draws your eye is like way at the top and stuff. And
Yeah.
so many people get stuck thinking that they have to put it exactly where like the right proportions in that corner or the weird like it's like no. Like I said in the last one, like
Hmm.
frame it weird. Like have
Totally.
fun. Put it weird.
And it's also unsettling because
Mm-hmm.
I think because the information that you need to look at is up top, and
Yeah.
then you see this like keep area at the bottom where it's like obviously keep the area clear and it's not clear.
Yeah.
You then have like important information at the bottom and top, and then just this uncomfortable negative space in
Yeah.
the middle. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it makes it more unsettling, fantastic.
Yeah, no, I was about to say like I mean this in the most respectful way possible. It is a slightly unsettling photo because it makes you just like, oh, and like,
Hmm.
yeah, like you don't feel like look at that. You're like, yeah, calm. Like you have
Totally.
to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's exactly it. So
No,
that's how
I
I
love
feel
it.
about it.
Okay, so yeah, this one, this landscape, I very rarely do landscapes
Hmm.
ever. I wish I would get out of my comfort zone and do them more, but I have a hard time when it's like I'll just be full transparent. Like I have a hard time when it's not like a central subject to focus on a lot of the photos to so when it's
Hmm.
capturing just a whole grandiose thing, it's
Yeah.
almost kind of hard. Even though I said like car
Hmm.
photography is landscape photography with a car in it, but it's you just put the car there and then if I put a car there on the bottom like left corner, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but no, so I took this one in Zion National Park. Have you been there?
Cool.
Have you gone there a couple
No,
times?
no,
Haven't
no,
been to
no,
Zion yet, huh? Okay.
no. There's a lot of spots I need to go to.
Well, maybe later in the summer. Figure it
Yeah.
out. You gotta that would that's an insane spot. Like gotta get you to Zion. I used to live at this time when I took this photo, I lived like 40 minutes away from it. So
Oh,
I would just like go to
man.
it all the time because I got my
Yeah.
associate's degree in Southern Utah. So I
Nice.
was an
Okay,
hour
cool.
from Vegas, 40 minutes from here. It was like
Hmm.
5 hours from Los Angeles. That was like the perfect like middle spot for everything.
I love
Um,
that.
but so I took this with my Canon 60,
Cool.
and it was the first photos I took when I bought my first L lens. So I bought the classic 24 to 105 that everybody gets. I was actually in a my photo class in college.
Hmm.
That like that's how I like kind of got my start. Was I just took my art credit in college for photo, and so just got my girlfriend at the time, drove to Zion, and we're like just had making her stop at like every corner and just like let me zoom in here, like, take
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
This looks moody as hell, and
I love that.
I always think it's important to look back like at your old photos, but also like re-edit them too, because
Yep.
this photo actually I tweaked the edit on like 2 days ago because I was
Cool.
looking at it, I was like, how would I do this different compared to what it looks
Hmm.
like then? And so this is actually like my new edit on what it was because my last one was very flat, not much contrast. Like didn't know color theory very well back then,
Hmm.
but but that
Oh,
yeah, so I've always just liked how kind of the symmetry perfect in the middle and like the subtle peaks and the moodiness of it. Like I had
yeah.
this as my computer wallpaper for years.
Nice. Nice. No, I love that. What again, like what I really like about it is that even though it feels like they're almost on the same plane, you get a lot of like jaggedness, and then you get all those like streaks on the left. And that's where the snowy peaks kind of turn into like streaks of stone. And I love that kind of comparison, that contrast. So you almost do have a subject in it,
Yeah,
even though
I
it feels.
even though this is my photo, I've never like so it might sound weird, like looked at it much like with the different textures on the both sides, like the different But
Hmm.
I guess it's always nice having people like look at your photo and like see what they see. Or because
Yeah,
yeah, it is real cool, like the different texture on both sides of it, and that
totally. It
perfect split in the middle, I guess.
Yeah, because you're looking at
Quickly,
a landscape and maybe that's like you're looking at one mountain or you feel like
yeah,
you're looking at one place that's got a name and it
hmm
just is what it is. It's been that way forever or whatever.
right,
Um, and then when you start to pick it apart, which you don't have to, but when you start to, you kind of see it's, the voices that are there
hmm
and kind of like how it's telling you a story. And yeah, it's great. It's a great image. And I love that you got that little central cloud as well.
yeah, the little guy in there, and then I also really like the peak that's like getting hidden by the clouds in the back, because it just shows
Yep.
like how just insane the scale is in Zion. But yeah, so that's one and only landscapes I felt
I love
confident
it.
sharing.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that.
Okay, so I'm noticing a little bit of water. I think it's water in this one, right? Or is it just
Ooh.
is it not
Mm-mm.
water? Oh wait, no, it's tile.
It's
Is it?
it's a ceiling. So this is actually
Okay.
an upside
Oh,
down photo.
okay.
And
I'm
this
gonna flip my phone
was I
over
was
just to see.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I'm
Yeah.
also like
Okay.
yeah. So I was waiting for a friend outside of their building and again I was just looking and this building had like tile, but it was all just like mirrors. And so I was like kind of looking up and it kind of curved and I was looking up and then I saw someone walking by and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna shoot this photo from the reflection, which a lot of people tend to do, right? You get a little bit of like a reflection ceiling photo,
hmm
but then I'll flip it because I'm really just trying to see what I can get out of it. And I think I nailed by chance the kind of like the lines heading to the left and the top left corner, but
hmm
then also the beams create enough of a frame that it like really framed that guy walking.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, there's not much color. It was like again, it was like a snowy kind of gray, brownish slush day. And I was like, this is not going to be in color.
Right.
So I was like, let's do black and white. And then what I did was I actually overlaid like a paper kind of like scan.
Mm. Okay.
Um,
Just for the
yeah,
texture.
just for the texture and the
Import.
blacks, just to feel like it was
hmm
a little bit, over scanned almost,
hmm
which gives it more vertical lines a little bit, but it lined up quite well with the actual kind of like mirror
hmm
frames at the same time. And then the photo kind of has a little bit more texture in the cars that are in the background, and it just fades out.
No, I actually I don't think if you tried you could have shot this better. Just especially with the how it's set up and the leading lines in it. Even though you say you don't do that. And,
Hmm. Yeah,
um
I really just noticed that after. Yeah.
yeah. No, that I have zero complaints about this photo whatsoever. I'm trying to think
Thank you.
what's that line that's on the ceiling that's coming like in front of the guy? I'm trying to wonder what that is. If it was just like some
The
like
the, the white
caulk line.
line,
Yeah, that white line in front of him.
I,
Just
I
something on
think
the
it's just
ceiling.
I think it's just yeah from the ceiling. I think it was
Okay.
maybe a reflection or it was just kind of like bent up a little too much, so more light
Yeah.
was hitting it.
But no,
You know what's so funny? I've
what?
actually never noticed that.
You never noticed that line? Oh no, well, just
I've
ruined your
never
photo.
noticed that
So
line.
sorry. Like, let me
No,
go clone this out.
fascinating. It's funny how the
It's funny.
things you notice and the things you
Right.
choose not to notice, eh?
Right. But no, I
That's too
actually thought it
funny.
was a good choice to have the foreground be lighter than him, because that's what makes him stand out. Like if you would have just done like an exposure drop pull, like
Hmm.
a linear gradient up, and then just made
Yeah.
it dark, kind of like I feel like a lot of people would have,
Hmm.
then I feel like he would have just been kind of lost
Yeah.
in the photo, and it'd have been like a little too dark. You could
Hmm.
say that'd be a cool like a sandwich contrast with the super white to a super dark, and kind of have him pulling into a middle. But I
Right.
do
Right.
like the lighter black in there.
Hmm.
That's coming from the guy that likes a lot of contrast. I like the flat orange because he's the contrast. The subject's the contrast. And there,
Yeah.
he's the darkest part of it.
Hmm.
And but again, yeah, the first thing that came to mind when I saw this was like water, because the top, the lines get so close, it looks like it's like ripply, you
Totally.
know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
lucked out on that one. Yeah.
no, that's a one in a million shot. But what? That's such a cool building. I feel like you guys have really cool buildings.
We
That's
have
what
some
sucks. I'm in
fun.
such a small town. Like we have
Hmm.
50,000 people in where I live, and so there's just no big buildings or like cool architecture anywhere. I know
It's
it's
fair.
boring that
Yeah.
way. So I wish that's one thing I do wish I lived in like a bigger place just for like the cool architecture. Um,
Toronto has a bit of a problem with like understanding itself because the architecture changes like every 5 seconds. You'll see an old building and then a new building that looks old and then a new building that looks new. So it's fun for like the discovery. Going for a walk, like you really don't know what you're gonna
yeah.
get. And that was a photo that I was lucky.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was really lucky with.
No. I think it's so important just to explore your town and walk around. And the one thing I love to do, especially when I travel, is just get lost. Like I
Hmm.
literally like I'll just walk aimlessly within reason of knowing that if it's a safe area. But
Yeah.
like when I went to Spain 2 years ago, I was on Ibiza and I just wandered around. Didn't put
Hmm.
anything in my maps, just wandered and found like the coolest places, meet the coolest people. Like just have lunch in this like little cafe by myself, just enjoying
That's
it,
great.
exploring
Yeah.
castles. But like then you find cool frames and cool places that you wouldn't expect to see or
Hmm.
take photos that even locals didn't even know like you could take, because there's always going to be
Yeah.
the like the spots that people will always take photos at.
Yeah.
But if you don't put yourself in just like unique places, then you might never even get frames like this,
Totally.
and
Yeah.
stay observant too. And probably
Yes.
I feel like what I've heard, always have your camera on you
Hmm.
too, because
Yeah.
all I feel like
Oh.
almost none of these would have happened if you just didn't have your camera with you. If you didn't go
Hmm.
places. So next one, I would say this photo for me has the most depth I think I've ever taken, because this is one you need to kind of like zoom in and like take everything in with
Hmm.
it, because this was taken during a safari rally, so it's just a bunch of off-road Porsches. My friend Tanner, who had the M11 fall off the top of his Porsche, he's the one that organizes this, and I
Nice.
shot the first event with him when it was just a couple photographers, 3 cars, and us, and then the second year we had 35 cars going all around southern Utah, and then now we're doing 2 different locations this year with
That's
it, and
awesome.
so it's just constantly growing. But I got so lucky with this frame because there was so much going on, so many people here, and I somehow got this frame with nobody in it, and the bottom is a Safari Porsche 911 with an old G wagon with a Mercedes. Trying to think what those things are called, but they're insane. They're like $300,000 campers that
Oh
are just
Lord.
like a Unimog. And then if you zoom in, there's a motorcyclist doing a drift with another off-road Porsche on the top of this bank, all in the same framing.
Hmm.
And my only wish I would have done is shot this at a wider aperture so everything would be in focus,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the G wagon's the one thing that's in focus with it. But I remember just like taking this photo and looking at the back of my camera and just like going to everybody, just being like, "Look at this."
Yeah. Yeah. Check it out.
Like,
Check it
no,
out.
for real. Like, I was just so stoked about it, and everybody was like, "That's the photo of the rally." There, and but no, this one, it just makes me proud. Like, just how I'll tell myself just how like perfectly framed was, and how it all just worked.
Yeah.
And like, you always have those photos where it's kind of like yours, how like you catch that instant that just you're just like, that worked.
Hmm.
That was it. That was the shot. That was perfect. It's pretty much just like your last photo.
Yeah.
And I don't know. This is one that I'm just super proud of. I do want to get it printed soon. I haven't got it printed yet,
You should.
but
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. And I think what I like, even though, yeah, you're saying like, I wish everything was sharp and everything was there. It's kind of like we're lucky that we didn't have to see this with our own eyes, because if we did, we would have missed one of these elements.
mhm,
And you've at least allowed us to feel like we're looking at it with our own eyes, but then we can deviate from it and quickly look at the motorcycle, or
yeah,
kind of like, oh, which one's that? Oh, like what color's that? So
mhm,
we actually get a freeze frame of real life, and we're not really seeing everything perfectly tack sharp. I'm okay with it. I know, like, you probably are still like, no, I need it
yeah, come on,
to be fully sharp. And one day
yeah,
technology will exist to get this perfectly sharp. But no, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah. Because this one was happenstance. Because I was just trying to take pictures of the G wagon, and
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't know how cool that Unimog was because I never heard of it before until after the rally. Everybody was like, "Oh, there's a Unimog here!" Whoa, and I was just like, "What is that? It's just a camper." But then
Yeah.
it's like $300,000-$400,000 to buy one, and they're insane. Um, but because I was just trying to use the door frame to like shoot through that and just like get the picture of the G wagon, and then I saw that
Yeah.
they were off roading at top, so I was just like, "All right, let me just raise up a little bit, get that frame,"
Yeah.
and I just let the shutter go, just rapid fire, and
Yeah.
so this is one of those photos where it's like lucky that you have the new tech,
Hmm.
or but if I took that photo on film, that would be so much more insane probably,
Oh,
because I
but
did
then you have
get
to
a
worry about
motion
your
shot.
exposure.
I got a motion shot of this red Porsche actually with my film camera too, of him
Nice. Okay.
drifting around. So I'll have to send you that too with it.
Please.
But yeah,
Please do.
it's
Oh man.
It's kind of crazy because the shot with the Cinestill, which has like a crazy halation to it, so the car's like glowing red. He had all of
Oh
his lights on and it's just drifting. And I shot
yeah.
at like a 1/20 handled on the film and
Oh
like tracking him. I was like, I hope this works.
yeah.
I don't expect it to, but
That's
I hope it
gutsy.
works.
Oh man. No, it
But
definitely worked out. And yeah, send that one to me for sure.
cool.
Yeah, it's cool to see it like if the Porsche wasn't in it, I feel like the Mercedes, just the two Mercedes facing away from each other, definitely has this kind of like, you know, cool factor that it feels like it's a, a Mercedes like
Mm-hmm. Like a
kind of
Mercedes
ad
ad kind of
campaign.
thing. Yeah. And then Mercedes would probably reach out and be like, "Can you edit the Porsche and the motorcycle out of the
Yeah,
back
it's like so
so we
there's
can
just
have
one
that?"
problem.
Yeah. Mercedes USA did reach out for some of the photos I took of that G wagon actually,
Sweet.
which is cool.
Nice.
So haven't got
Yeah.
that posted yet, but here in my town actually, I took a new G wagon up in the hills, and that was the first time I've ever worked with them. Actually, was they used the photos I took of a G wagon up here in my town,
Beauty.
and
And
so
do you feel like you're waiting until you hear from Mercedes to kind of like go out and shoot, or you're already just like let's grab some photos of cars and just kind of go out there.
yeah, I just do it, and then if they want them, then if they
You
want the
you
photos,
happen to
that's
have them,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about this on the last podcast, but I had to turn down Porsche recently because they wanted my photos, but I turned them down, or because
Just
they wanted full rights, no compensation, no
mm,
nothing, and I was just like, nah, I'm
yeah,
good. I was like, I
yeah.
don't need the cloud, I'm fine, cool.
No, no, that's
Forget
fair
like
because they,
my
they
art's
they should
worth getting
know.
paid for.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
know your worth. But let's go to
absolutely.
this next one. Is that a that's a let me zoom in on it. I feel like this one I need to zoom in. Okay, there's a guy. I was like from afar, it looked like it was a dog for a
Yeah.
second, and then like a super shaggy dog, but it's a guy.
Oh,
Let
it
me
is a
scroll through
very shaggy photo. I'll tell you that much.
it. It
I
is.
was shooting the AeroPress. Do you know AeroPress coffee
Mm-mm.
making? So
No.
it's like this plastic kind of like plunger where you
Mm.
put coffee grounds in, water, and you kind of use your own pressure to kind of like squeeze the coffee out.
Okay.
Makes for like almost like a longer kind of espresso.
Okay.
Think of a small coffee, right? So they actually have these international competitions around the world every year.
Of aeropressing.
So I actually shot it in Lisbon, and this photo
Sweet.
was taken after we had wrapped the entire event. And we wrapped the entire event. I had all my cameras in my backpack. I'm walking back to the hotel to drop them off and then go grab some wine. And I just hear like a bunch of music. I see a crowd of people, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I gotta go. So grabbed my camera out, and it was this massive festival that I still don't know the name of, and people were dressed up as like monsters, as like kings and queens, like with a masquerade ball kind of mask, everything you can imagine. People were
Yeah.
chasing, people on the street, trying to
Yeah.
like go into their
It was so
bags.
confusing for you. They were like, "What
It
the?"
was so someone had
Yeah.
like a almost like a kind of a clamp, and they were trying
Hmm.
to like get my feet. So I'm like trying to like take photos of them like trying to like attack my feet.
Yep.
Very odd, but it was like a street photographer's like dream
Sure. Yep.
because you could just jump in anywhere and try to get photos, and
Hmm.
everyone that was part of the festival was pretty engaging. And so here it was another photographer. She was just grabbing some photos, and there were a few guys that were exhausted because they were just being like led by like a farmer in those outfits. And I was just, I was like, I don't know what to take from this. And the
Yeah.
guys were just chilling, so they were laying on the ground, and I went in for a photo because I wanted people's feet while also getting a photo of him because again, he was posing like that.
Hmm.
And just as I'm about to bend down and take the photo, she walks in with her camera, taking a photo of people behind me. But it looks like she's photographing his head.
Yeah.
And
So she looks like a
and I was
giant.
like I'm just gonna take this photo because it really does feel like we're playing now with a small version of a person lying down, a large photographer in the left. Feels like she's photographing him, but she's also photographing behind me
Right.
and people behind me. And so I found it so fascinating because it was just a plethora of oddness that entire
Yeah.
day. And the light was beautiful. It was sunset in Portugal. So you're getting beautiful light, even though I
Right.
put this into black and white. She's got shaggy hair. He's in a shaggy outfit. I was like, this is all shaggy and confusing. So this one I like just because we're now playing with proportions.
Hmm.
And it kind of came out of nowhere, really. And that's it. That's all I got for you on this one.
It's a very Peter Jackson kind of uh style for
Totally, totally.
the Hobbit Shaggy Man and the
Yeah,
large wizard lady with her camera. No, that's such a fun just story. Like the what a random. That's one thing I love just going to other countries is just the most random, quirky, weird stuff that you just see.
totally.
Like
Yeah.
that's just normal for them.
And they're
And
very inviting.
oh yeah, no, they want to share the culture with you. Like,
Yeah.
well, even when I got lost in Spain, like I was up by the castle and like the cathedral there, and then I just started hearing like drums and singing, and I looked around and there was these like I'm assuming it was some sort of like Christian procession, but people walking through, but they had big drums, but they had hats that were like 10 feet tall, like huge, just white pointy hats that were like but went like all the way up there, and they were just walking through, just drumming. People were just watching.
Wow.
That's just what they were doing, and I'm like, this is just a Wednesday. This is a
Yeah.
Wednesday here in Ibiza. Sure, why not?
Oh my goodness.
But no, one event I've always wanted to go to is the Krampus Festival in Austria.
Oh yeah. I saw
Have
some
you?
photos of this year.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just looks insane. Just
Yeah.
demon Santas running around the streets hitting you with sticks and just beer and drinks and tiki torches and just fun time.
Yeah.
Like that'd be a street photographer's dream too. I feel like
Oh,
just
totally. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It'd be a little like intense, but again, hiding behind a camera, it kind of separates you from it.
yeah.
So you can
Like
kind
they
of
know
just
that you're
jump
there
in and
documented, so maybe they won't beat you with it.
yes,
But I've
exactly.
always tried to convince like my family to like let's just go there, let's go do it. And nobody sounds convinced that they don't want to be hit with sticks with demon Santas, and I'm like, please,
No,
that'd be
no.
so fun. Like, come on, let me do it.
At least once in your life, you know?
Right? Yeah, just to say you did it, just one time.
Yeah.
Um, but no, yeah, this it's such a fun quirky and so this is a whole separate event from the AeroPress thing. Like it was just another
Totally.
one that just kicked off right afterwards, and
Absolutely.
they
Yeah.
were
I was
all
already
hyped
packed
up on
up.
coffee. They were all hyped up on coffee, and then they just threw on their shaggy outfits and just started going mob.
Probably.
Probably,
Probably. Yeah.
yeah. Maybe that's just what happens in
Libsyn.
Libsyn. Oh my gosh, I can
Lisbon.
say that. Yeah, Lisbon. Yeah, they drink coffee and then they shag up. I love it. But yeah, when I first saw this again, I thought it was a dog. And there's like
Yeah.
there's just a lady taking a
Right?
picture of just like a shaggy dog, and that's why I had to pause at the start. I was like, let me zoom. I need to see this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And the only thing
Takes
that
a
made me
moment.
like stop was I saw the sneakers, and I'm like, oh wait, that's not. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's just so much to unpack in this photo, and I love it. Again, it's kind of like the
Hmm.
one we've like unintentionally almost like ran a little bit same theme, like this one that you have to like zoom in and like get each layer and piece to it to
Totally.
understand it, which
Yeah.
I think that's obviously what helps it tell a story, and that's
Hmm.
best part about it. Like we're sharing stories with what we photograph.
Yeah. Exactly. And so
So
now I'm looking at something else that definitely needs some explaining.
let's hear it.
Because where are
Let's see.
you?
Oh, on the racetrack there with the so this car. Well, first I want to highlight the owner of it. Super
Hmm.
fun guy. So this is a Porsche 906 Le Mans car. This is on the UMC racetrack in like outside of Salt Lake City. But
Cool.
so the owner of it is a very unique guy. He is a professional model and an inventor. Like that's his two professions. He's one of those like
Okay.
just like gorgeous, smart, all this stuff. Like has got everything looks like the quintessential guy that would like male model. Um,
See.
but so this one was actually a screen used car from Ford versus Ferrari
Cool.
and was
Okay.
used in the movie. And the person that was in charge of running all the cars for the movie, he didn't take a salary from the movie. He just asked if he got to keep all the cars afterwards. So after the movie finished, he just sold all of them and dumped them. So that was the money that he made, right? And
Wow.
so he, I guess the guy that ran all the cars was friends with this guy's dad, and so his dad called me. He's like, "Hey, I'm picking up one of these Ford GTs. You pick up this Porsche 906 race car." It's like, let's buy this. So he did, and he drove it home from California where he bought it to back to Utah. So
Hmm.
like 9 hour drive. There's no heat shield from the engine. It's literally just like eighth of an inch steel between him and the motor, and he literally had a water spray bottle and a fan just like clipped to the top, and that's how he just kept himself cool, just dumping water on himself.
For 9 hours?
Yeah, when he drove it home. But
Man.
then he even when we were shooting these, he just had that little clip on fan running, and it just but that thing acts like a greenhouse because it's just a bubble of glass. So
Right.
super hot, all stuff, and you want to keep your correct so you don't tint it and everything, so you just suffer
Mm.
with it. But this car is his daily driver too. He drives it every day when it's not snowing or raining. So just wild,
I don't even
fun
know what
thing,
to
you know.
say.
It's
I'm
insane,
just like,
right? It's so cool. But so this day we again with the Tanner Seymour with the poor stuff, him and
mhm.
uh, three other photographers and some videographers, we just got the chance to have the racetrack to ourselves. And
Yeah, that's
we
awesome.
have a little Utah group that we have, like it's called our photo projects group, and we just share cool projects that we have going on and share with each other, see if any other people want to tag along. And Tanner set this
Hmm.
one up for us, so you can actually see on the tail end of the car is someone's camera rigged to the back
Yeah.
shooting video. And it's one of those things where it's like it tells part of the story, but it's like, man, I wish I cloned that stamped that out. But then again, it tells the story of the day, so
Right.
it's right
Right.
there. So these ones were, I took so many photos that day and very few worked because I shot these handheld at 1/15 while hanging out the back of a car. And so I was
Nice.
like really hoping, and I shot it with like a 20-year-old Canon lens, like the 16 to 35 f4L.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
that one's like the only EF 16 to 35 that was stabilized. So that's why I bought
Hmm.
those like my vlog lens for the longest time shooting YouTube stuff.
Cool.
And
Yeah.
so but also I like the pictures that came out of that lens better than the new RF versions of it, of the
Mm.
lens.
Yeah.
So that's why I went with that one. But yeah, handheld 1/15, just hanging out the back of a Porsche. And we had like five other people in the back of that Porsche trying to shoot. One person out the sunroof, like three people out the back, camera rigged up, one person riding in the car controlling the camera that's rigged to it. And so it was just such a big production day. But it was just so cool just shooting with like Le Mans legend kind of car and having a racetrack to ourselves. But um
Totally.
and
Was he going pretty fast
no,
or
probably
trying to like,
35, 40. I think we are only allowed to go 40 miles an hour, like insurance wise,
okay.
just
Okay.
racetrack liability wise. But when you're shooting 1/15, you can make anything look fast, you
Yeah.
know? Like most of my rollers now, I try to, because of how few shots worked
Mm.
out of
Oh,
everything. So this one, I actually really tried to learn how to edit out of focus photos and try to use that
cool.
to my advantage a little bit. And
Yeah.
I was trying to call on, like, do you know Aaron Brimhall? I was trying to call
Hmm.
on his style a bit of like his motion and blur and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And when I posted it, people were like, "I thought this was a Brimhall post for it." I was like, "Perfect, that's exactly
Yeah.
what I have."
Excellent.
Like, that's great. I'm
Nice.
glad it resonated that way because he was the main inspiration for it.
No, that's
And he's
that's
still one guy I
fantastic.
really want to work with in Utah. But yeah, this was just such a fun shoot. It was really fun just doing it with friends, and we got to have like just hours of fun.
Yeah.
And I love these photos too. Again, more of the ones that I need to get printed.
Yeah. No,
um,
definitely.
but if you guys ever come to Utah, I could probably see if we can get this car back out because it's really fun.
No, no, no. I really want to take you up on that offer. That's for sure.
I just never attempted to try to sit in it because I'm 6'2", big dude. I'm not even gonna attempt.
I was
That's
gonna
built
say you.
for Italian guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, because I saw some photos and you do look tall, so I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, he likes these cars.
Yeah.
So, is he sitting in all of them?
That's-
Because I mean, like, yeah, I've seen Shaq try to get in some cars, and he's got to get custom cars or
mhm.
whatever.
Yeah, I just had a Lotus for the day, and the only way that I was able to drive was the steering wheel came off. But if it didn't come off, I wouldn't have been able to drive it.
That's wild.
All right, let's
Stop
check
right
out
there.
the story about this building. The first not black and white photo
Yeah,
of the
I'm so
day.
sorry I didn't even plan that. Yeah.
No, see it.
So yeah, like not much to talk about in this one apart from I'm walking down the street in New York, and again, it's this element where the sun is kind of shining in such a perfect way that it feels like it's making kind of the marriage between your highlights and your shadows kind of meet in the
Okay.
middle. So it kind of produces a little bit of like this flat image almost, yet it's very pronounced what's bright and what's not.
Right.
And so I use like an aerochrome, uh, what is it? Aerochrome something. I'm blanking, but again, it flips some of the colors. So you can see the trees in the background are like red
The red. Yeah.
instead of
Okay.
green.
Hmm.
And what it did to the sky was like it still kept it blue, but just this weird muted like teal.
Hmm.
And I love just like the lines coming up as well as the swooping lines from the actual Guggenheim. And man, like that's it. It's got three layers. Um, and we've got it printed up on our wall. And it's
Love it.
kind of like the entrance one. So like when you open the door through the corridor, like that's the photo you see.
Yeah.
It's pretty big. And again, it's just like it's very inviting. We kept it
Mm-hmm.
at that kind of aspect ratio too. So it's very like kind of thin.
Mm-hmm.
So it creates some elongation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's not a car, but
I love it.
it's tasty.
Yeah. No, yeah, because the first thing that comes to mind that is very like 70s architecture and stuff, like it's that style. But I love the contrast with those straight lines that the shadows are causing. I'm not sure what's
Right.
casting those shadows right there, but like the straight lines compare with the curves and stuff.
Yeah.
Just that, yeah, this is such a fun like just play on shape again. That's why I wish that we had more interesting architecture here, because you can get such interesting photos with just the wild shapes that everything is and shooting through stuff.
Totally.
And so yeah, so you were just on the street just shooting just straight up at this pretty much, or
Yeah. Yeah. I was just literally walking because we were on our way to go to that museum.
oh, okay.
So no intention. And then I just paused, took the photo, was not like, oh, let me
Yeah.
frame it up. Let me do anything there. And in the end, this is when I'm like, okay, you look at this, and just at the end, the kind of the main focus is just the touch of nature that is also distorted and now red.
Yeah.
So it's like everything's about architecture, but then there's a little bit of nature in there,
Hmm.
just coming to say hi.
Just the
And
touch.
yeah,
It's the
just a touch.
little sprinkle of the. But yeah, I feel
Yeah,
like the first thought people are like those rose bushes, and then they might look closer and they're like, oh no, what?
yeah,
But almost maybe it's just my phone, but like in the dark part of the stuff, it looks like still like a dark green. So it's like those are red leaves, but not like
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
so interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I love, and yeah, the shadows are just so interesting because it'd be hard to tell like what time of day this is, but having some of it
Hmm.
shadow and stuff, yeah, it's just such a fun play of like shape that
Yeah.
just makes you just think, because like I said, it's one of those photos like we've said before, like framing it weird. It's just like they
Hmm.
use. I feel like it's one that people probably walk into your house and like look at it and just like stare at it for a second. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh
They're just, huh? I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, it's New York City.
yeah. And I wouldn't even guess that was New York, but museums always have the coolest architecture. 10 out of 10
Oh
to
yeah,
any museum designer, especially like the Peterson Museum in California or a place like that. Like,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
There's a
don't know
lot
what
of
it is
really
about
cool
museum
ones.
architects, but they just go ham
Well, they're
every time.
allowed to. Once they get like the thumbs up to go for it, they're like, I'm gonna make the weirdest thing ever.
Yeah, it has to be a statement piece, and I love it,
Yeah.
one hundred
Yeah.
percent.
And yeah,
But
the Guggenheim's that one for sure.
that's so cool.
I love it. But again, people don't even shoot that building from that angle.
Yeah.
Um, they always get it from the main street. So
Hmm.
this was kind of fun to see it from a different angle.
And again,
Um,
just like your other
yeah,
ones, if you didn't have your camera with you, just with you, this would have
yeah,
never been created.
absolutely.
Yeah. So keep your camera on you, people. Come on. I'm gonna have my camera with me every single day now. We go.
Well, yeah, I think this week coming up, I'm gonna just make sure that I have it on me because I
Mhm.
haven't for the past like week and a half.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to.
Yeah. Maybe with my tax returns coming in, I'll pick up a Fuji
There you
X100 and
go.
keep something small on me
Yeah,
with it.
no, that's a great
But
one. It's honestly,
to keep moving on, we'll get to this last one here. This
yeah.
one was kind of a cool milestone for me, but also one that I kicked myself in the butt for. Also, I was saying just fun
Okay.
story, but it kind of ties in actually. So, obviously, one thing like we haven't mentioned too, like you work with Chris Howe, like your
Hmm.
business manager. Don't even know what all a business manager entails, but you work with him, and obviously, I feel like every photographer watches Chris Howe at least one point, especially if you're in the
Hmm.
automotive space. Or something like I probably watched his like editing tutorials a billion times when I'm learning how to do car photos.
That's
But
awesome. Yeah.
I also used to watch a lot. His name's Eddie Zhu, and he
Okay.
started. I'm not sure if they know the channel Vehicle Virgins, but they were like one of the OG car YouTubers. Like I was watching him since like middle school,
Hmm.
and I was going to Scottsdale for one of my friends was going to go see Taylor Swift, and my brother lives down there, and they were like, "Do you want to drive us down there? We'll pay for all the stuff, and then you can get to see your brother for your birthday because it was right around my birthday. Then they'll go off see Taylor Swift, and I'll hang out with my brother." And I also saw that Eddie Zhu just bought one of the first Corvette Z06s that got delivered. It was like number 34 that was made,
Oh wow.
and I knew he kept it in Scottsdale. And so I don't know how, somewhere along the line, somewhere I can't even remember how it happened. We became friends on Facebook. even though this is a guy like I watched him for years. He was like YouTube royalty for me. Like none of like just always wanted to meet him, and I was
Hmm.
just like, I don't know how we became friends on Facebook. I don't know how this happened. So I just shot him a message. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Scottsdale this time. Can I take photos of your Z06? And he's like,
Hmm.
funny enough, that is the only day that I'm going to be in Scottsdale. Like I'm in Chicago every single week, but it's like that's the one day like I'll be in Scottsdale. So it's like, sure, why not? And so it was the first time I got to like work with somebody that like watched for so long and I've always just wanted to meet and just like admired their work a ton, and getting to just like actually be in a spot um portfolio wise where it's like I'm taken seriously enough to where people that like have the bigger following can actually like take me serious in a sense, but also
Yeah.
just getting to
Yeah.
work with people that I've always admired, like growing up and wanted to meet, and then you always just find out they're just people and they're really cool and
Yeah.
they make really cool stuff. Like no celebrity or no person's like special. They're just people and really cool people and just like to have stuff
Hmm.
that they share. And so got to shoot with Eddie Zhu and hang out with him for a little bit, but then I kicked myself in the butt with this photo because I love it, but I overexposed the sky way too much. And it was
Mm.
just way I was kicking myself. I was like, man, like when I was editing them and had to deliver, I was like, I messed these up.
Oh,
And Eddie has said, like we've talked a couple times again, and he said he's down to shoot again sometime. But um
nice.
I was still just like, man, I wish I could have recovered the sky, and like I just messed up and just wasn't paying attention. Maybe I was just too focused on being nervous or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's just one of those photos. Like it's a cool milestone, but I messed it up, and I wish I could have fixed it because I've even tried to like go back in the raws too, like later, been like, I'm a better editor now. Let's see if I can recover it, and it just doesn't look good. So
What would you like? Because you've thought about it for so long. What would you do differently on the day of the shoot to kind of like let quote unquote fix it?
I would just expose it lower. Like I would literally just say I loved all my framing, all the stuff. I just way overexposed it,
But you wouldn't
and
use like a ND or like a gradual or nothing like that.
no, no, just
Yeah,
overexposed it. Just the sky, especially now, just
fair
like my
enough.
editing style. I feel like I could have done it better, but I just couldn't recover the sky out of it.
Yeah,
And when you overexpose it too, it just makes the lines around like the edges of the mountains just look so solid and round, and it doesn't look natural and stuff.
yeah,
So I would have more exposed better for the sky and trusted my sensor to bring the details back up because I
yeah.
don't do any external lights or anything on my
Yeah,
photos.
totally. No, I mean with Leica, it tends to be that people want to shoot to expose just for the highlights, and
Hmm.
they trust the sensor enough. And so I think that can be a useful way to go about it and just shoot in like highlight priority.
Hmm.
But I try my best to just make sure that everything's overall kind of even.
Yeah.
And that's again stylistically just like what I go for. But I'm now just trying, a little bit here and there to use filters, NDs, whatever I need to kind of feel like I'm getting the shot I want in
Hmm.
camera. Because before, yeah, no lighting, and whatever happens, happens. And I've definitely gotten a lot of white skies that are
Hmm.
not recoverable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious if you were thinking about just raising your shadows and hoping. Because again, cameras these days, especially the one that you have, no
Yeah.
problem.
No,
Like
no
it's
problem at
it's
all.
not a problem at all, eh?
And I probably would have shot it with a pro mist too, just to maybe haze out the
Hmm.
sunset a little bit more too. Like expose it for better, but then still get that haze with it. Because the pro mist
Yeah.
is fun, but I've been real hit or miss on those. They've sometimes ruined my photos for how much mist they put on. So I rock
Yeah.
the short
Sometimes
stash one a bit, and that one puts a lot. The
is that
everyday filter.
10% or like a
Um, no, his is a
1/8?
it's a one half,
Okay,
but it's a
yeah.
one half, but it's a CPL, so like it
Mm,
cancels out, so it makes it more like a quarter.
okay,
But yeah,
cool.
but taking like low light car photos with the headlights, it just
Yeah.
blows them up and it
Oh,
makes the whole car go away. And so I've done some shoots where I'm like, ooh, I wish I didn't run that filter that day.
yeah, no,
But
it's
but
like
in this
baked in, right?
case,
So,
it would have just made the highlights around the mountains just like way more just like fuzzy and nice, but and put a little bit of glow with the taillights. But I feel like in this instance it would have been a good call. But yeah, so that's my last one. I got tied in because it was like tying with Chris out because like he is someone like I feel like I said everybody has watched forever and stuff, and
hmm,
he seems like he's just such a chill guy and fun guy to work with probably.
absolutely,
So
yeah. I mean, we
especially
knew
when he
each
makes you the
other
star
for
of his watch commercials and stuff. Yeah,
exactly, right?
yeah.
Well, it's nice that I knew the watch as well, right?
Hmm.
Because I love Hamilton. I mean, I don't know how
Yeah.
you feel, but a lot
Mhm.
of people say that like Hamilton is usually the watch that gets people into watches.
Yeah. Hamilton
So
khaki.
it's
One.
right there for like, the kind of like the everyday person.
Yeah.
And it's feeling like it's a little rugged, but you can kind of dress it up, and
Right.
kind of working on that one was a lot of fun. And
Hmm.
yeah, again, because we're friends and we really, talked about that before working together. It was like, can our friendship remain strong? It's
Yeah.
been great. I mean, it feels like you're working with a friend,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's the best kind of working relationship you want, right? Where
Yeah.
every day doesn't feel like work.
Hmm.
So it's been good. And then being able to work on projects like this, I love automotive in that regard, and being able to shoot cars, though I
Yeah.
don't do it a lot. It's for me personally, but it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. But should we roll into this last one?
Yeah, yeah. You want to do
Please.
that one?
Let's do it.
All right. So this one
Stairwell.
is a portrait,
Hmm.
but what's really fun is that this was when I was starting to play around with generative AI. So
Okay.
realistically, the original photo, you can pretty see, like you can see a pretty hard line. Like it's more of a shadow, and that's kind of where it cuts off and goes off into the distance. And this was a great portrait. My friend M and I just shot in like any kind of hallway we could find
Right.
downtown. And she just loved going down the approach of like, I'm gonna just look bored. And I was like, fantastic, right? Look bored.
Hmm.
It'll look like, a fun editorial shot.
Yeah.
And so we did a few shots, and I loved this one again because of the lines. And when I wanted to start getting into some funky textures, whether that's borders, fake film borders, because I love
Yeah.
black borders a little bit more than white, and then I want to see what generative AI can do. What I wanted to do was not give it any prompts. I clicked the generative AI and just let it expand. And
Hmm.
because of that, it really did kind of explore very odd things that no one would really know what to do,
Right.
when you're trying to select a prop or you're trying to like build a set. And because of that, I really enjoy the original image, but expanding it made it a little bit more chaotic and allowed me to feel like we can kind of be more artsy,
Hmm.
um, by just letting a computer kind of join in the party.
Right.
And so,
Yeah.
you
Using the
see
thing
this
that
kind
so many
of
photographers are scared of to actually
exactly,
benefit your work. Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, if as long as I'm in control of that tool, it can't own me. It can't own my art
Right.
because I can always just backspace or,
Yeah. They can complement it.
delete. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really cool because like that weird, what I'd like to call, a sculpture, that weird thing in the far right, like it just kind of adds a weird kind of like metallic feeling, yet
Hmm.
also smoothness.
Yeah.
And it kind of complements her arm or like her
Hmm.
shoulder. And then she's kind of resting on this rigid line that leads to, again, chaos.
Yeah.
Lines that are just all over the place up top.
I'm guessing that leg is also part of the generative
The
build
leg is
too. Yeah,
generative.
because it's just coming right through a wall.
Exactly. And like the
Yeah.
rest of her arm and like wrist. And so it's
Mm,
like
okay.
very odd. But like her hair and her shoulder, kind of everything up there is all her. And it is like a stairwell. So you are getting those bars up top and in the middle.
Mhm.
But I was just like, let's just keep going. Let's just keep expanding.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like a really fun one in that regard.
So none of the top right corner, that's generative AI too, right?
Yeah.
It was just the wall, the bars in her face, and that was pretty much the whole photo initially, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
I'll send you the original as well, or you can just
Hmm.
I'll crop to what's the original
Yeah.
so you can kind of show both. But yeah, and like I wanted to kind of lay it here because I wanted to ask you a question in regards
Hmm.
to the work you do.
Hmm.
How can you imagine generative AI filling in that gap? Can you at all, or does it feel like it's starting to ruin maybe the location you're at or whatnot?
I'd say for me, since I'm so kind of picky with my locations, like I always goal my shoot to fit the car in the location because that's just one thing that like I obsess over.
Yeah.
But I would say there has been times, especially when I ran primes,
Hmm.
where the location I picked didn't have enough space. Especially
Yeah.
because when I first started, I only shot on 85, and so there was definitely times where I'm like, man, I wish I just had more because I feel like a lot of car photographers, the cardinal sin they always make is they have to fill the whole frame with the car, and I'm
Hmm.
like, you have to take a step back, let it breathe. But sometimes if you're shooting with an 85, you can't. So I could see if having fun with generative AI, like giving you that space that you needed that you just didn't have on the day.
Hmm.
Obviously, you can avoid that if you just plan ahead in advance. But I'd say I've used it a couple times just to add like certain elements to photos that I wish was there.
Hmm.
Again, just stuff that just wasn't there initially, or maybe there is too much stuff there that I wish wasn't there, and I'll use it. So I haven't done it to like fully build uh something around a car, which might be actually kind of fun to experiment and try, like do a little series of just AI generated backgrounds and stuff, and just see what it makes. Like crop my photos in really tight and just see what it would create, just for fun. Um, but yeah, I personally haven't done it yet, but I could see the value in doing it, and it would be kind of a fun practice to do so. It's a tool that you shouldn't be scared of. Like it's not going to replace anything.
Hmm.
It's not going to replace it. I feel like there's still it, generative AI is still pulling from other people's artwork to try to generate artwork, and so it still needs something to pull from. But they're like still the artist's message coming through, even like you said, like using it
Hmm.
to complement the work that you do. And I think this is a really fun way to use it, um,
Hmm.
because I initially when you look at it, it doesn't look fake right at the start. Like again, some of the parts make you question, but I thought the whole top right part of it was real for the whole time. And
Right.
I thought it
Right.
was only the bottom part
Yeah.
that was fake the whole
And that's
time.
what's great. It kind of makes you feel a little bit like there's like cubism or some kind of like art form
Hmm.
apart from just like taking a photo of the modern world.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's really nice about it. And yes, even if it is pulling kind of like from other people's work, if it's going to be like that weird thing over in the corner where it's like a little jagged edge and a little swoop, I'm not really sure what it's pulling from, but if it makes you confused or I like it, then
Hmm.
I'm happy.
Yeah, and that's been a theme. Like I feel like, especially with your work that you're so good at, is looking at a photo and it makes you pause
Hmm.
and makes you like have to not only appreciate it, but like makes you think about it, and then that's what makes you appreciate it because you're like, wow, like they're, your photos are very thought out, and
Thank you.
I like
Yeah,
that. Like because in a world filled with just snapshots, which snapshots are great. A lot of mine are saw that and took a photo of it. Um, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that you put into a lot of the work you do because I feel like that's
appreciate
missed
it.
a lot of times.
And you have to kind of overshoot and
Hmm.
you kind of have to go, through the gold mine at the end, right? And just pan
Right.
through all your shots.
Hmm.
And there's hopefully one nugget of gold in there
Right.
out of 1,000 photos. And if
Yeah.
you're lucky enough to find them and you can interpret them to what you like, and that can honestly be for any genre of photography or video,
Mhm.
I'd say just like hold on to it, put them into folders, and just be excited about them because if you're excited about them, that will be attached whenever you're kind of sharing it and explaining it to
For
someone
sure.
else.
Yeah.
And that lands you clients, that lands you friends, fans, whatever you want or
Hmm.
whatever you're, seeking. It'll land you something. And I think whatever it does, hopefully it's just good conversation and
Yeah.
connection. So,
Mhm. And yeah, I feel like we kind of hit on this at the start. Like the people that photo exposes you to, and just the people you get to talk to, and the
mhm,
network you get to grow is, I feel like, the most important part of it.
absolutely.
Like obviously we get fulfilled creatively, but the stories you get to share and like the just the life connections you make with people around the world is just so cool. And that's been
Hmm.
my favorite thing with this journey. I've been doing it for about 6 years so far, and
Cool.
that it's the people that you get to just be with and interact with, and the coolest opportunities that come with it too, because you never know
Yeah.
who you talk to, how that will generate to something in the future either.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
some of my coolest opportunities ever, like I said, just one guy that reached out and was like, can you be here 3 hours? Like, yeah, why not? And then that's led to so many different cool opportunities. Or
Hmm.
most of my like biggest business things too have come with like talking to one person for 2 minutes one time 3 years ago, and I can like draw a
Totally.
straight line from that
Yeah.
interaction to stuff in the future too. And you probably have a lot of that too, I bet, of just
Yeah.
how you went and
Absolutely.
talked to this one person, you wanted to take their photo, and probably had a lot of fruit that came from it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here today because of like what that one small moment of being like, hi, excuse me, can I just chat with you for a moment and take a photo?
Mhm.
Those moments lead you here, and then you can kind of just connect with someone else. And it is, yes, that one line, but it just expands.
Yeah.
And I mean that like when you really think about what a network is, you should be excited. You shouldn't be like, oh, my
Mhm.
network is so big. You should be like, wow, look,
Yeah.
look at how big it is.
Hmm.
And the connections that have been made.
Yeah.
And we live in like an analytical world, right? And numbers or whatever, kind of reign supreme. But the effects that you leave on people in the end are really what matters. And
Hmm.
again, we get to document it, so we actually get photographic proof that we
Right.
were at these moments and connected with those people.
Yeah. And that was kind of what I tried to portray with that reel that I posted that I remember you commented on, the trying to put in perspective. Yeah, you only 100 people saw it, but that's a lot of people. That's
Totally.
100 people.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, 1,000 people. That's a ton of people. Like, if 1,000 people came up to you and like looked at your photos, you'd be like,
Yeah, you're like, it's not ready, or
yeah, like
you
don't look
get
at it. No,
nervous,
stop.
completely
Yeah,
nervous.
but it's so important, just like human perspective, and again, the numbers don't matter, but the reach that you have and the network that you grow, it's you never know how you're affecting other people and inspiring other people, and
Hmm.
so it's important just to create what you love to create, put your heart into it, and talk to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
here at the end, what is my on top of the advice that we just shared? What's one more piece of advice you would leave for people other than carrying your camera with you literally everywhere?
Yeah.
Because you never know what you would create.
Um, yeah, I mean, shoot now and figure it out later. Action is one of the biggest things that I think we can struggle with. We sit on the couch a little bit too much than we should. Go out and see the real world, whatever that looks like. It could be your next door neighbor, it could be the street 2 blocks away from you, or it could be a country across the world. Just go, grab some photos, and then even if they're not great, look at them through, your back screen or your computer later and figure it out. And I think that's just going to be the most impactful thing for whatever journey people are on. They
Mhm.
just got to get out there. And I'm speaking to myself at the exact same time as I'm telling that to other people. And I think as long as you're doing that and you're doing it with like good intentions, I think that's the other thing, right? Like
Mhm.
you can make a big network, but as long as you're making sure that you're doing that with a little bit of reverence and humility and grace, I think you can change the world. Even if it's just taking a photo of something that may not feel like it's super impactful, it probably is.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And also, thank you guys for watching at home. Appreciate you guys. I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.
Awesome. See ya.